Tonight on Game All Night, Marty Connell of Rolling Dice and Taking Names. This Week in Each Week is brought to you by Game Toppers. Upgrade your gaming experience.
Welcome to Game All Night.
Well, hello and welcome to another Game All Night. I'm your host, Chris Whiphand, and joined by Mr. Dan the bartender. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Evening, Chris. Doing okay. Walking and talking.
Walking and talking? Well, that's an improvement, because you've been recovering from stuff lately.
Yeah, I'm not in full throat yet, so don't ask me to do any musical numbers, but we should be all right otherwise.
Well, that's right. That's season 2's anniversary special.
I hope not.
Believe me, none of our audience hopes that happens. I was in choir, but I was just one of the bass. I just didn't, nothing fun. So, sir, what are we drinking this evening?
Yeah, I'm excited about this one. So I poured us both the same beer. It is Galactic Fog from Captain Lawrence. So Captain Lawrence is one of my favorite New York breweries.
Okay.
I was really excited when they started distributing around this area because they were a little hard to get. I used to actually make sure to bring them back from trips I would make to Manhattan before that. And this is a hazy IPA, which is a term that I think has largely been eclipsed. I think they call these all New England IPAs now, even if they've predated the New England boom.
Right.
Featuring galaxy hops, thus the Galactic Fog.
I was going to go there. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, but I hope you enjoy it. I know it should be right up your alley.
It is. So I like the Galaxy Hop. I think it's Gil's favorite, but it's up there for me. But enough of us chit chatting. Let's throw it to our guest in the green room, Mr. Marty Connell of Rolling Dice and Taking Names. How are you, sir?
I am doing just fine. I got a quick question for you there, Chris.
Shoot.
Where'd you find those pictures at your intro? You must have dug deep into Facebook to pull some of those out.
Oh, I did. That's kind of,
okay.
I gotta be careful with my my little digging techniques, but yeah, mostly Facebook.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because some of those is like, wow. I mean, they were like years ago. One of them was like when I was in the studio recording an album for a band. He was like, daggone, where did you find that one? I thought, oh, it must have had to been Facebook.
Yes. Do be careful what you post, because chances are I'll dig it up. That's what I do.
Yeah, I should have checked everything before. If I'd known he was going to do that, because there probably some bad stuff out there. But it looks good. You didn't do anything bad. I see you got the team vest in there, which is nice.
I did. Before we get on, though, are you drinking anything, sir?
I am drinking good old-fashioned, well, I can't, it's not sweet tea. Usually it's supposed to be iced sweet tea from here in the South, but I'm trying to watch my calories.
So it's
unsweet tea with sweet and low.
Okay. So it's overly sweet, not sweet tea.
Yes. Overly sweet, but no calories.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm like that with my coffee, so I can appreciate it. I switched over to black, and it's just like less and less sugar every time it goes in. But that's awesome. I do find it funny, though, that you brought up Team Vest. So Team Vest has been mentioned on the show before, because obviously we had another member of Team Vest. I don't know if we'll get the other one. He's kind of famous. But,
yeah, well, he's like an honorary member. There's only really 2 official members of Team Vest and 1 official one that won't admit it, and that's Suzanne Sheldon.
Right. So, but obviously I'm talking about, Rich Summer, he was on, and then Chaz is just too famous now. No.
Yeah. That's true. He is.
I know, he is. He's kind of he's board game geek famous now. It's kind of exciting.
That's right. Moving up to the east side.
I know, right? He's got a jersey now, I think, even. Like, I think he's full on.
I think he is. Yeah, I think once you get the BGG jersey, then you're all in.
Yeah, yes, exactly. But you have a thing, I think, Marty, with traveling in threes. Because the other famous 3 that I didn't put the picture up, but I'll put it up down there. Is the Three Amigos, which is another trio of idiots. I mean, friends that you hang around with.
First one was right. First one was right. Yes, yes. I assume you're talking about Jamie Kagi from The Secret Cabal and Rodney Smith from Watch It Played.
Yes. So you like to have friends in groups of three. I see. That's kind of a thing for you.
Yeah, there's a joke in here that we're just going to avoid. So, because, we're trying to keep this PG at least. But yeah, that is kind of funny that you bring that up. The Three Amigos came up a few years ago on The Secret Cabal. Mm-hmm. Jamie one night he does these express episodes with The Secret Cabal where they're really short. And one night he reached out to me and Rodney and said, okay, I'm stuck. I have no ideas what to do. Would you guys like to come on? And then somehow the Three Amigos came out of it, and then it just stuck. But now we haven't done one of those episodes in quite a while. So either we just stunk or nobody wanted to hear it anymore.
Yeah, you didn't get the invite back. You didn't.
That's right. We get on like once a year, it seems.
You get on more than I do. I mean,
well, I also have pictures of Jamie too that's hidden deep on Facebook that nobody can ever see. So you got to bribe him a little bit.
Yeah, I'll have to work on that. I'm working up to getting Jamie in the show because, frankly, I want him to drive in. He's got to. He only lives about an hour from here, so he's got to come in to do it. So.
And then he could sit right there on the couch.
Yes. I've only had 2 people on the couch so far, Marty. Can you believe it? Only 2. But
all you do is fly me in. I'd be glad to be sitting there. Right?
The budget's not as good this year as it was last year. We get venture cap in year 1, so it's kind of dried up a little bit. So those of you who may know Marty and his sidekick Tony, there's a reason Marty's on, because Marty's the cheerful, happy-go-lucky one, typically speaking. We have his cohort Grumpy Tony, but you guys run a podcast, and it's probably one of the ones I've listened to consistently and the longest. I highly enjoy it. Oh, absolutely. You guys, very entertaining. And one of the things that they like to discuss as of recently usually is lawnmowers. And, the season's approaching again. Are we getting our small engines repaired? What's the situation? Because mine has to run all year. Because I have a snowblower on the front of mine, so I have to have it ready to go at a moment's notice. But
I actually just mowed this past weekend.
Oh wow, early.
Yep, mowed this past weekend and already put seed down. Well, here in the South, it's about that time of year to start doing that. So,
all right, I think I got a month, and then I got to start worrying about it. It's kind of like. My lawn's sitting at like a crew cut right now, and I'm kind of just letting it run. I'm not a fan of yard work, though. Do you guys enjoy it? Or do you just like the machinery?
Well, for me, it's kind of therapeutic because I get out on the mower and put in some wireless headphones, listen to some music, and just ride around for an hour. So it's kind of like a getaway time, just a me time to myself. But, yeah, I enjoy it.
See. But there's that thing, right? Because I don't really have a family, and my wife and I, we share the house, but I can always go find a quiet corner where no one's going to bother me. So I don't have the need to get out and escape. So yeah, lawn mowing, it takes about an hour, but sometimes I feel like it's an hour of my life I don't get back. But
and so people who've never heard the show, I've already decided. I'm never listening to this idiot if all they're going to do is talk about lawnmowers.
Oh, it's so tongue in cheek. But I will say one of the things I love, and your show does it, Secret Cabal does it. A lot of shows do it where they kind of open up with this banter that makes you comfortable. And talking about something mundane like a lawnmower or anything like that, it helps kind of set the mood, set the tone, and establish personality. I can tell, is it going to be a really grumpy Tony day, or is Tony going to be kind of happy today? I can kind of tell all that within the first 5 minutes.
And it's funny how we do have some planning behind it. The lawnmower thing, sometimes they just happen. The lawnmower thing just happened. And then I'll come back to that in a second. So yeah, we drop these little notes in our show notes. It's like, for example, we recorded last night, And there was just one thing in there. Tony wrote it, basketball flopping. I didn't know what we're going to be talking about, but all of a sudden during the show, that subject came up. So we dropped these little tidbits in the show notes to let you know this is going to be coming up. So kind of be prepared. And then we kind of go from there. But the funny thing about the lawnmower, I'll never forget the first episode we talked about the lawnmower. We had reviewed 2 or 3 games, 2 or 3 really popular games in that episode. And yet our Slack channel and our BGG forum, there was 0 discussion about the games. It was all about the lawnmowers. So Tony and I was like, why are we even talking about board games? Nobody talks about the games that we talked about. They want to hear about the lawnmowers. It's crazy.
You gotta know the saga. But there's something to be said for just kind of inviting people into a normal conversation. I think the best podcasts are the ones that are kind of friends having a chat. Right. And, there happens to be some games in there at some point. That's cool, too. And
it's funny that you say that. Actually, when Tony and I started the show 6 years ago, one of our things that we wanted to do was many times we sat around the lunch table, whatever, just talking about games. And the whole goal was when we record, we wanted it to be like we were sitting there at a table talking about games. And there was just happened to be a bunch of other people there listening in and chatting too. Right. So that's always been our idea of, instead of talking to the audience, we want the audience to be a part of it. So it's like we always envision we just got people sitting there. We're just, talking with all of them just like we normally do.
Right. And, that's kind of, I think that's the best way to run it. It's one of the same kind of philosophies I have with the show is I just want to be the person asking questions a normal person would ask. I don't want to do this deep dive research. I'm like, I just want to talk about stuff that if I were to run up to you at a con and just have a conversation and a beer, because we have time for that, right?
Right.
Then that's what I want this to be. And I think that's what's kind of most fun about this for me is I'm not sitting here trying to play highbrow, end of the world kind of questions. It's just having conversation. So you guys have been on the air for 6 years, though?
6 years, yes.
Wow. It does not feel like
December
that
2012.
Because I think I've been listening to you guys from year 1. So
Wow. Yeah, 100 and, just last night, when this comes out, we'll have a couple episodes out, but we're on 167 episodes right now.
Congratulations. And you do it every other week, right? So
we do, every other Tuesday.
All right. So how you said this kind of came out of lunchtime discussion. So how did you guys decide to just kind of dive into this? Because it's not so, trust me, everybody out there with a computer can become a podcaster. Let's be honest. It's very, very minimal investment, very easy to do. But what made you say let's do something and let's do something different?
Well, it's funny that Tony and I, or me mainly, I've always wanted to do something like a podcast or like a radio show. But before it was board games, he and I were really heavy into fantasy sports. Right. We managed fantasy baseball leagues, fantasy football leagues. And we thought, there's really nobody talking about this. And again, this was probably 8-9 years ago. Podcasts were around, but they weren't as popular. And we actually contacted a local sports radio station and said, hey, you don't have anybody on your airwaves talking about fantasy sports. And that's kind of a big deal now. Well, of course, we didn't have any radio experience, so that didn't go anywhere. And it's kind of funny that within a year, 2 years later, they started airing a segment each week on fantasy sports. But, I'm going to take credit for that. It just wasn't me that got to do it.
Absolutely.
So I always had this itch to create content with Tony. Then we got into the board games and we listened to other podcasts and stuff. I said, Tony, maybe this is the outlet that we now want to use for a podcast. When neither of us had ever done a podcast. And we said, let's just try it. The bad thing is we didn't prepare very well. This was almost, let's just do it for fun because nobody's going to listen. And so we set up a horrible website. We didn't even have a Twitter account for 4 or 5 months. We weren't really trying to promote it. We just kind of put it out there and said, all right, if people want to hear it. We weren't even on iTunes for the first couple months. So we had and then all of a sudden I pointed to Tony in the stats one day. It's like, people are listening. So then we realized, okay, maybe we should take this a little more seriously and try to be a little more prepared, more professional. So at that point, then we started trying to do it correctly. But my regret about the show always has been is I don't think we were as prepped coming out of the gate as what we should have been.
Right, but at the same time, I would also argue that there weren't a ton of models at that time. Like, you had some basic formula shows, but when you're trying to find your own voice and create a show and do something a little different, it's a lot of variables. You can't really sometimes, but you also, you did a slow open. You just kind of came out and just kind of worked it up. And now I think you guys are very distinctive in your approach, your response, and obviously your voice, because, it stands out.
I'm not sure how I'm supposed to take that. But
you should take it fine. But let's put it this way. How many people go, hey, wait, I know that voice, and then come down and find you guys?
That's true. So it's funny, when we started the show, the original premise is we wanted to introduce new gamers to games.
Okay.
And we had this whole thing about, we had this segment called Casual Corner, where we would talk about what is a deck building game and stuff. But we found out that the people who listen to board game podcasts aren't casual gamers. That's not the audience that's looking for that. So then we realized that, well, I guess it was somewhat appreciated that the audience that we were targeting wasn't listening to us. So then we had to kind of switch, and we realized, okay, we need to be talking to gamers who really know their stuff, because that's mainly who listen to podcasts, and they still do today. I mean, let's face it. There's last I heard, a couple million unique users on like BGG.
Wow.
And a small fraction of those watch YouTube videos or listen to podcasts, and a small fraction of the overall gamers are part of BGG. Most people, and I have a game club here in Charlotte, and we have 40, 50 people per week. Most of those people in that game club never ever listen to a podcast. Nope. They're there every week playing games, but they never listen to a podcast or watch video reviews or anything. So it's really only the hardcore people that do stuff like you do and stuff like I do. And the only people that's going to watch this are people that really are hardcore into games like we are.
Yeah, it's I joked about it with somebody, and it was kind of like you're finding a niche within a niche within a niche within a niche. We suffer from nested niche syndrome, I think, because that's kind of the problem. And when you try and do something unique and kind of off base, that's not just the straight up review and the most commonly consumed media, it gets even harder, because, it's not that I don't think people are looking for it. I just don't think they know how. I just don't think, or they know it exists. So it's hard to get bandwidth on anything like that. Right.
Right. And it's funny that over the years, there are a lot of other shows out there that are doing an amazing job of doing deep dives into games. And, you mentioned Secret Cabal. That's a long show, and they have a great banner, but then they do this deep dive into the game. And a lot of people do that, but we kind of pulled back. And so we created this segment called 5-Minute Initiative. It's like, all right, let's get in, tell our thoughts about the game, and get out. Because it seemed that there's enough shows doing deep dives on games that we didn't need to do that too.
Right.
And so we just tried to bring something a little different. Our goal also was always to be shorter than most of the other popular shows. Granted, Dice Tower, the most popular show, or maybe one of the most popular shows, runs an hour and a half. So we're in that range, but Secret Cabal is 3 hours. Blue Peg, Pink Peg is 2 to 3 hours. Most people cross that 2-hour mark, and our goal was always to be less than that, again, to make us stand out from other shows.
Right. And I also think, too, that those shows also have an ensemble cast typically. So they tend to have more voices that are trying to get opinions out, so they can warrant that longer back and forth and discussion. Whereas when it's just like, two people talking to go on for hours and hours and hours, it can get a little, I don't want to say stale, but you can kind of you can start running over the same ground. So it can be a challenge.
I am jealous of the ensemble shows. I am jealous of the people who get to sit there with 2 or 3 other people and make content, because having done things like the Three Amigos, that format is so much less stress, because, and I think it was Chaz that said this, sometimes the best ensembles are in threes, because typically you can have 2 people that gang up against another person, and that's entertainment. And so Tony and I, we always kind of have to be on. If one person's not on, one person can't carry the entire show.
Exactly.
But if you have 3 or 4 people going, let's say there's one person that doesn't have a lot to contribute maybe to this segment, but the other 3 do. And the audience never realizes maybe that 4th person's not interjecting. It's just because they don't have anything to say at that point, but everybody else, they still get good content from the other 3. So I am jealous of actually larger ensemble podcast, and I actually like it when we have guests on our show because it does increase our size and make it easier to have make content.
Right, and it's just, but it goes back to exactly what you said, right? It allows you to have more of a discussion and, you know, more opinion. And you can have a little bit of fighting and off balanceness because, you know, there's inevitably, unless you're all pulling for the same team, there's going to be something off. No, that makes a lot of sense. To the point where I think there's honestly times when like the Cabal's doing stuff where they actually might not even like have anybody there. They're like, all right, you 2 can go, you're done. So we got to record this segment with that. And so it kind of helps offload the workload, right? Like the only one really pulling the weight every single shot, as it were, is, you know, definitely Jamie, right? Because he's captain of the ship. That's what he does. So, and
I'm gonna promote Jamie here. I think by the time this episode comes out, the Secret Cabal Kickstarter will be running. So make sure to go support those guys on Kickstarter. They make good content.
Absolutely. You know, I don't have a lot of cash for that kind of stuff, but that's definitely one I do because I consume every ounce of what they do. So I don't want to be a taker. I want to be a giver, Marty.
Well, good. When we run our Pod Pledge campaign in a couple weeks,
I'll remember that.
And we'll never. Oh yeah, thanks.
I'll buy a mason jar, sure. So,
oh my gosh, I can't believe I didn't use one of our mason jars. We actually have mason jars with our logo on. I didn't even grab one. I'm an idiot.
So in the intro, I thought that's what you were doing.
I can't even do self-promotion right. I have a mason jar with our logo. And I'm sitting here drinking out of, it's a regular old mason. It actually says mason jar on it. It's an actual one.
It's not even a ball knockoff. It's true mason. Well done.
Actually mason.
So there is one little last bit about your show before we go to break here. I was kind of curious, like how, one of the things that kind of jumped out at me, and my co-host Dan will appreciate it, and I'll explain why in a second, is that you guys kind of befriended Ignacy Chevacek real quick, and he's a sponsor of your show, and it kind of felt like it came out of nowhere. Like I vividly remember I was painting my neighbor's like inside of her house, like 2 of her rooms, when I heard this episode, and I'm like, what is going on? Where did this come from? It's like, are you guys flying to Poland in your spare time? Like how did this relationship form? I gotta know.
All right, so Ignacy, like you said, is the president of Portal Games from Poland. And gosh, how many years ago? I guess it was about 5 years ago. Tony and I went to our first BGG con. And while we were there, we were interested in learning about this game called Imperial Settlers. And we had talked to Ignacy, maybe on Twitter, maybe it was email. And it was like, hey, we'd like to set up a time to come by and check it out. And he was so cool. It's like, well, I just want to teach you the game. I'll teach you the game. All right. We went, oh, well, that's very nice of you. That's cool. So he brings out Imperial Settlers. And I remember exactly where we were. We were, if you've ever been to BGG Con, there's a set of elevators on the bottom floor. And right now it's where they set up the food area and stuff. But there was a table sitting there, and we sat at the table and we started playing Imperial Settlers. And he must have thought we were the most stupid people ever, because as he was teaching the rules, we were constantly asking questions. Oh, I don't understand how you do this. How you do this? Hey, and he was just so patient. He kept telling us. And then the running joke that we have with him is that the fonts on the Imperial Settler cards are small. So we kept going, what's that icon? What's that? That icon? Is that an apple? Is it a cherry? I don't know. What is that icon? And he was like, it's that resource. It's that resource. It's like, it's too small, Ignacy. And then somehow from that, it just clicked. And he just started picking on us. And it was like, I don't know how you guys ever even got through this game. He was just laughing at us the whole time. From that, we just kind of stayed in touch, and we decided to go with a sponsor or thinking about getting sponsors. He was one of the first ones that we went to, and he said yes. And every year he has said yes since then. And he listens to our show. And now we help him out at Gen Con. Last year we got there a day early and we were in there on the floor putting in the little foam mats for them to walk on. And nobody else was doing it. It was like, oh, this is fun. And we're on our hands and knees putting down stuff. And then he brought in, what was the big game last year? Oh, Detective. And it was like 600 copies of Detective. It's like, bring in the pallets. We'll take care of this. And we're ripping open boxes and putting them up on there. And it was just having a blast. And he was like, you guys like doing this? And it was like, well, we've never done that before. I mean, people who sit at the booths, I know it's got to be tiring every con to set up the shelves and the games and the floor and the table. And we've never done anything like that. So we're just excited to get in there and help. Now, will we do it again this year? Probably. But next year, there's no guarantees.
Yeah, you show up late and with food, and that generally works.
Yeah, and if people follow Ignacy, they know he loves cookies.
Right.
So that's it. That's his thing. So you always have to take Ignacy cookies, and you take him cookies, and he's happy. You eat his cookies, and he gets very angry.
Well, that's good to know. Unlike, Steven, who's his cohort in crime, who, will generally dole out a few of the sweet baked goods laying around the booth every now and then if you're lucky enough.
Gosh.
I have one of the chocolate
I know exactly
bombs
what you're talking about. Beth Smokes chocolate bombs. She's a volunteer at Stronghold Games, and she makes the most incredible desserts. And it's like, I make a beeline, man. Doors open. Everybody else is running to the games. I'm going straight to Stronghold's booth. It's like, Beth, where be them bombs? And she's like, she opens up that container. She said, what kind? You want chocolate? Do you want some rum? And it's like, just give them all to me. So it's amazing.
Yeah. I didn't quite get that until last year at Origins when I got one, and I was, I get it
you're now, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That'll be one of my first stops now every time. But what can I say? Well, this has been a lot of fun. I think we should take a quick pause for some station identification and some pontification from Mr. Patrick Hillier. So we're going to be right back after this. Pontifications with Patrick Hillier.
I waited and stayed up all night and tried to figure out where the sun was. And then it dawned on me.
This week's Media Creator Shoutout goes out to Flip Floor's Super Saturday Board Game Serial, which features a variety of guests doing some crazy and wacky things in board game land. Be sure to check them out on your favorite podcast stream. And I am back with Mr. Marty Connell of Rolling Dice and Taking Names. And we're
Why does everybody give Patrick a hard time? That was amazing. That was one of the best puns I've ever heard. People need to leave Patrick alone. He's the star of this show. He needs like a raise. He needs his own room. He needs his own like writers and everything. You need to hook this guy up. Do not let him go. I'm telling you.
No. He is. If we have one secret weapon, it's him. No, we have two secret weapons.
Three secret weapons.
The secret weapon of the Inquisition. No, but it's...
Oh, I love you, Monty Python fan. Let's do it. Let's talk some Monty Python.
Well, I think we can. I need to fix one thing though. So before we get there, we need to play a game first.
All right. Well, it's been great hitting with you guys. We will see you later.
So I think it's time, because one of the things that you are most certainly known for is being a man of the South. And I feel it's important for you to defend yourself, because you lost once. So let's see if we can.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So let's see. Now this was going to take many different forms, but this is kind of the one I decided to settle on. So I kind of want to walk through some of these things, and I'd like you to explain yourself, sir. So okay. Let us go. All right. So Dan, first up, biscuits and gravy. Biscuits are made for one thing. They're made for honey. That's it. That's all I put on a biscuit. I don't understand this. And gravy's not white. Gravy's brown. So what's
All right.
the deal,
so
sir?
See, here's the thing. It's hard to say Southern food sucks if you've never had good milk sausage gravy on a homemade biscuit.
Okay.
And that's exactly what that is. I'm not sure where you got that from, but there's a restaurant here locally. It's a fast food restaurant. If you ever want to get good gravy and biscuits, it's called Bojangles. And it's basically white gravy made with flour, milk, and then chunks of cooked sausage mixed together,
All right.
then poured on top of a hot biscuit. It is amazing. Amazing. Biscuits and gravy are definitely a Southern delicacy around here. And what's really cool is Southern it's funny. You think of Southern restaurants as like family hole in the wall type places, but
Sure.
Southern cuisine has become a thing around here to where you actually have high-end Southern restaurants serving things like for an appetizer, biscuits and gravy for like $10. It's ridiculously priced, but it's becoming funny how stuff like that used to be like dirt cheap has now become very expensive and elite.
Well, that's, you know what? We'll take a 5-second detour. That's actually true throughout history. Like if you look at most of fine dining cuisine, it came from peasant food. Like coq au vin and beef bourguignon, like that's peasant food that we have co-opted and made fancy, and now it's haute cuisine, as it were. So apparently you're doing
That's
that
right.
with this gravy, white, lumpy stuff. So
Come down here anytime, and I'll get you a good gravy biscuit.
well, we did try to hook up. I was down there for work, but unfortunately you were away that weekend. But you missed the hurricane, so you timed it right.
And it's a shame. Did you come through the airport or did you drive?
RDU, yeah.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, if you came through Charlotte, they have a Bojangles in the airport. So you could have got one of those things.
Okay. All right. So I don't understand the whole love with RC at all.
So it's interesting that RC is also another Southern cola that was extremely popular in the 50s and 60s, even more so than probably Pepsi. In fact, I remember reading this article last year about the history of Royal Crown Cola. That's what RC stands for. Pepsi was also born in North Carolina. So you had these two competing drinks going against each other, and RC was by far the most popular. And I'm trying to remember what the facts were. I know that at some point in time, they tried to make a diet drink. It was Diet RC, and it just failed. It flopped. It was almost before its time.
Right.
And after that happened, it's like the popularity plunged, and Pepsi and Coke, which is already popular, took off. And RC has never been able to regain ground. But it's 50, 60 years ago, that was one of the top colas in the area. And now it's just very nostalgic for people. And that's why you may have this later on. You always pair an RC cola with a moon pie. They're always supposed to go hand in hand. And in fact, there's stores around here that package them together.
Really?
This would be perfect if I had a button for a moon pie picture right now, Chris. But
Well, maybe the Game All Night logo will become a moon pie for now.
Oh, no, come on. Are you kidding me? You think this sucks right here? Chicken and waffles?
I don't want maple syrup on my chicken.
Oh,
And I don't want
my
chicken on my
gosh,
waffles. I want
Chris.
strawberries. I want ice cream. I don't get it.
Chris.
I mean,
Oh
I'm
my
right
gosh.
here. I'm right here in the same room with him, Marty. If you need someone to be your muscle on site, like,
Remember what you said
I've got
about
your
having
back.
2 versus 1? I have a feeling that's happening right now.
Are you with me on this one, Dan?
I'm with you on all of this. Believe me, you had
Okay,
me at
all right.
biscuits and gravy.
All right. So I always say fried chicken and waffles is like a Southern thing, but here's what's really interesting. There are some really good chicken waffles in place around the country. There is one of the most famous ones, and I can't think of the name of the restaurant, is in Los Angeles. Los Angeles, of all places, has one of the most popular fried chicken and waffles. And Mr. Chris, if you are at Gen Con this year,
Okay.
there is an amazing chicken and waffle place. It's like a mile and a half away. We walked there not once, not twice, but 3 times
Three
to get their
times.
chicken and waffles. So you are more than welcome to come with us and try the chicken and waffles and this is what was so great about this place. It's like one of the hole in the wall places that's packed. I'll tell you, here's a secret. If you ever come to the South, if you see a hole in the wall restaurant that looks horrible, but the parking lot is packed, you need to stop and go in, because that's the place where all the locals go. And that's the place that's most popular. And that's what is Indianapolis with the chicken and waffles. It is an amazing combination. Lots of people eat the chicken by itself and then the waffles. Right. Oh, good stuff. That's a good looking picture right there. I'll tell you, with the pat of butter on there and then some sugar on. Powdered sugar. Yes.
So, and now this one comes to me in two varieties. This is the one that I think I can live with. And that's the shrimp and grits. But then just like plain grits for breakfast, definitely don't get that. But like the shrimp and grits, I can get behind, because I think I like the savory, but I don't get it for the breakfast thing.
Okay, so grits is definitely an acquired taste, and they have to be made correctly. Lots of people who make grits says this is horrible. Why would anybody eat this? Well, number one is, when you make grits, here's the secret: take your whatever amount of water you're supposed to put with it, cut it in half, and use milk instead.
Okay.
And then as the grits are being made, put in a lot of butter and some salt and pepper to taste when you're done, and that's going to be your better grits. But this right here is an extremely popular low country, South Carolina low country cuisine, shrimp and grits. In fact, this is now one of those high end meals. We talked about how like a peasant meal is now high end. Shrimp and grits is usually, when you go to a restaurant here, it's going to be one of the most expensive items. Well, shrimp by itself is expensive.
Sure.
But typically a good shrimp and grits is going to be one of your higher end items. And it is extremely popular, especially near the coast, all over the South.
So I will tell you, I did get some at one point, and I enjoyed it. So the moon pie thing, I think it kind of, so, all right. So disclaimer, I've had these a few times. One of them came from Marty. Yep. He tried to give me the kid size first, and then I balked at him, and he gave me the adult size later. So, you know.
Well, you're really endearing yourself to me here. Southern food sucks. Changed my mind. Why do you, sir, deserve anything bigger than the mini? You want the double decker.
So what is it with the moon pie then? And like, obviously there's many flavors nowadays, but you know, what is it that kind of makes this one jump out and better than, say, like, you know, a cupcake or something that I can get, like a Hostess or a Ding Dong or whatever? What makes this one special?
I've never said it's better.
Okay.
People like this isn't that good. It's like, again, it's like RC Cola. It's very much a Southern traditional thing. It's one of those things that you grew up with. Probably a lot of the kids around here, when they were growing up, would go to a little general store and they would get a double decker moon pie. So there's very much nostalgia with the taste. And back then you could only get like vanilla and chocolate. But you know, now they've added salted caramel, strawberry, and banana. I don't know why that still exists, because I understand the whole banana thing. But again, this was something that was made in Chattanooga, Tennessee, back during the Depression time. And there was a company there that was just trying to make cheap snacks for the nearby workers. And they said it kind of looked like a moon. It was a pie, and the idea was the pie wouldn't melt or be messy. So it'd all be nice and compact. You put it in the lunchbox, you can eat it later. It took off, and now you have the moon pie today, one of the biggest, I guess probably is the biggest marketed Southern treat, packaged Southern treat.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's distinctively Southern, that's for sure. And like you said, pairs well with RC Cola. So there we go.
In fact, I've got somewhere around here, I actually have a moon pie tin. Oh, hold on. Oh my gosh, I found it.
Let's go back.
I'm redoing my studio, and this was once on the wall, and it will be back on the wall again. So there you go.
Outstanding.
Since 1917, it says it right there on the sign.
So last but not least, the whole sweet tea thing. Okay, I'm an iced tea guy. I make iced tea, and I brew it fresh. I don't I don't buy anything, but I just can't get behind the whole just sweet. Like I need the lemon. I need something else. What makes sweet tea so distinctively Southern that you can't have lemon in it?
Lemon is a very common thing. It's
Okay.
extremely common. Most people do get lemon in it. Most people have a lemon put on the side of the glass or whatever, and they
Okay.
just drop it in, or it comes with lemon. So yeah, most tea around here is served with lemon. I just didn't happen to have one. So no, that's very common to have
Okay.
a slice of lemon with the tea. Now the question is around here is how much sugar do you put in the tea? And for people who aren't used to it, it's like, oh, this is horrible. But I will say there's this YouTube channel that I watch called it's a Southern thing where they do a bunch of like Southern skits, and they do like these taste tests. And just one that came out the other day was the best fast food sweet tea. And they had like 6 or 7 fast food restaurants that he ranked. Number 1 was Chick-fil-A, which does have very good tea. Number 2, surprisingly, was McDonald's. And I must admit that McDonald's makes consistently good sweet tea.
Well, part of that is probably because they have the systems and they have everything set up where it's going to be consistent every time you go. I will say, I work for a restaurant group and we actually have tea and sweetened tea. They live next to each other, but when we open our restaurants in the South, we have to add 50% more simple syrup to the mix because it's not sweet enough. And we get complaints.
And it's funny you said tea and sweetened tea, because here it's like it's assumed sweet.
Right.
Do you want unsweet or not? And I never forget when I first got out of college, the first time I went up north, I went to Connecticut, and it was during the wintertime. And they said, "What do you want to drink?" And I said, tea would be great. So they come back with a cup, a little thing of hot water, and 2 tea bags. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this?
Brew your own.
And she said, didn't you order tea? And I'm like, do I make it myself? Well, she said, yeah, just put the water in with the bags. And I said, well, where's the ice? And she said, what are you talking about? I want to put ice in this. She said, it's tea. Why would you do that? And I was like, I did not know that north of the Mason-Dixon line that you drink hot tea. I didn't know that was even a thing.
So
I was getting mad. It's like, this is an expensive restaurant. You go back to the kitchen and you make my own darn tea.
Sir, we're so high class, we make you make your own.
It's like a do-it-yourself restaurant.
It really is. It really is. But in all honesty, the segment's a joke and it's funny, but I love all those things except for the RC Cola. That you can keep. I do.
Do you not like Coke or Pepsi?
If I'm just drinking plain, I'm a Pepsi guy. If I'm doing mixed drinks, I want Coke. Go figure. So I you know what it is? I don't like that little peppery quality that RC Cola has. So there's that.
So
All right.
let me ask you this.
Yeah.
This is another Southern thing too. Taking salted peanuts, buying a bottle of cola, Coke, Pepsi, putting the salted peanuts in the bottle, and then drinking the drink.
That came up when I was researching the RC Cola picture and trying to find a good one. I found several people doing that. I have never tried that. I don't know if I have the gumption to do so. I mean, okay, I did the Laverne and Shirley milk and Coke thing once upon a time, right? When we were kids, I would drink that. But because my parents didn't really buy soda, we didn't have it around the house. It just wasn't a thing. So, like, if I got soda, I wanted to stretch it, and milk and Pepsi allowed me to do that.
Right.
So, like, I used to spend my lawn money, like my lawn mowing money. I would actually go to the beverage store, and I would get a case of soda. And that was what I would, like a bottle of Coke or things like that. That's what I would do. So,
At least you call it soda, not pop.
well, you're in pop territory, aren't you?
No.
No, that's a northern thing?
No, that's a northern thing. It's either soft drink or the old joke is everything is a Coke. What would you like to get? Coke. Do you want the clear Coke or the dark Coke, which is either Sprite or Coke? So it should be everything around here was always Coke was a generic term. I actually use soft drink now because there's so many of them. But soda I can take. It's just when I hear the word pop. It's like, can I get a pop? It's like,
Yeah. I used
All
to
right.
visit my in-laws out in Wisconsin, and it used to be pop. You want a pop? I'm like,
yeah. I mean, it's just odd hearing that term. So
all right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, for the record, I love Southern food. So, but I will say, biscuits and gravy, I did not understand, and I truly felt that way. Like I did not understand this white gravy thing until last year for my birthday. I throw a little convention at the house. I invite like 40 odd people over, and Jeff Gamble.
40 is not an odd number.
Well, no, the people themselves are odd.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That makes more sense.
They're my friends. What do you expect, right? So Jeff Gamble came down, and he actually made some of this. His wife made it. He brought it, and I got hooked. I'm like, this is it. Although I learned that, despite 2 years of chef school and doing it for 10 years, I suck at making biscuits.
It's a thing. So the fast food restaurant around here I was referred to called Bojangles. They have what they call in each of the store a master biscuit maker, and that's the person in the store that's the best. And each year, each master biscuit maker in each store goes to compete, and there's a competition for who is the master biscuit maker overall of
Really?
Bojangles.
That's kind of amazing. But I learned something too. Like you can't. So I have a plastic pastry cutter, and apparently you can't cut it with plastic. You have to use metal. And I'm like,
Yep.
who invented that rule? I never heard that in my life.
Yeah, it's just the way the dough comes out.
Right. And then I was down in Mobile not too long ago doing another opening for the stores, and I did shrimp and grits twice because it was amazing. Like one was Emerald's version, and one was just some local place out in Mobile, and the little local place out in Mobile was better.
Told you, hole in the wall somewhere. It's going to be the best place by far.
It was absolutely delicious. So please, no, don't bother trying to convince me. I am convinced on most cases. Like I do love the food, and I do. Chicken and waffles actually, again, another one where you're like, I don't think so. But then when you actually get it and you have a good, I will tell you, take it to the next level. Get yourself some really good Vermont maple syrup, and don't just trust the little Aunt Jemima bottle. Not just, it's so good. It really, really works.
Well, the invitation is still there for this year at Gen Con if you want to come with us to that chicken and waffle place, because it is really good.
I might have to take you up on that, sir. We shall
Please
see.
do.
We shall see. Absolutely. So, Dan, you were awfully quiet aside from trying to come to the defense of the Southern cuisine. How do you feel about these things?
Oh, I've got me a Tennessee wife who has made sure that I appreciate all the joys of Southern cooking. So
I learned something about my co-host today. How do you like that? Tennessee Williams over there, just slinging drinks and.
Where from Tennessee?
she's a Memphis gal, as a matter of fact.
Oh, so nice. So you get the Memphis barbecue?
I mean,
She
I
doing
love
that?
barbecue. We don't do a lot of it at home. I think, frankly, that would be on me. I think I need to start taking up the backyard barbecue, and she'll bring the rub to make sure that it all comes together.
Get the green egg and get to work.
Nice. Now, that's another thing too. Barbecue is not a thing you do with a grill.
Right.
Barbecue is food. So I know there's a distinction there. Some people say, I'm going to go out and barbecue some burgers. And I'm like, what? No,
No, you're grilling.
So,
Oh no!
That's right.
Notice that didn't touch the list, and that never would. You'll have to convince me a squat on that one.
Right.
The only thing you would have to try and convince me of is I'm not a fan of the Carolina vinegar barbecue style. I like more of the Memphis dry rub style. So
yep.
there is something. But you also did something called you attended the Boobacue, was it not?
Yeah, each year we have at my house for Halloween, we have an event where I have 20 something odd people.
20 odd people.
There you go. Yeah, 20 odd people. And we have something called Barbecue. And there is one of my local gaming friends is an official barbecue judge who goes around the country and judges barbecue, who makes his own barbecue and brings it. And we just sit down and play games all day and have homemade barbecue. And it's amazing.
It sounds like a really rough day,
Oh, it's so good. Barbecue. That's what we call it. Except it's got to be careful when you say it. Booby Q.
Right.
It's like boo. BQ.
Right. We got to keep it PG for you. So
That's right.
that pause is important. Pauses save lives, right?
That's right.
Let's eat, Grandma.
I canceled my road trip as soon as I figured out that you didn't mean what I thought you meant. So
He's
like,
just disappointed the
really
Mac
as
machine
good.
didn't give out dollar bills, and he was
That's right.
he's just having a rough time of it. But I kind of, at my age, I think I'd like the latter. We are kind of the same age. We're in that ballpark, so we need to kind of toe. I'm not going to get grumpy. I'm going to go distinguished. I'm going to take that road. But we kind of have to be the vanguard of that generation, I think, a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's absolutely right. And you mentioned barbecue earlier. How you don't like Carolina vinegar? Did you know there's 2 styles of Carolina barbecue?
Oh, are there the mustard and the vinegar?
No, there's okay. There's 3 styles. On the east side of North Carolina, it's vinegar based.
Right.
On the west side, it's tomato based. In South Carolina, it's mustard based. So whichever region you go to is the type of sauce that you'll get.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The more you know, barbecue edition.
It's really not that important, but it is. It is one of those things. If you never have barbecue, you can either ask for the vinegar style, the tomato based, or the mustard based. And if you're in a certain area of North Carolina, one's more popular than the other. And it's really interesting because North Carolina is one of the barbecue capitals of the U.S. I mean, there's other great barbecue places too. St. Louis is known for barbecue.
Sure.
Obviously, in Texas, you got the brisket and everything. But each of them have their own different styles. But our style, it's just interesting that it's not just one style. In this one little area, there's 3 different styles that you can get, and it's all good. In fact, there's a huge barbecue festival here every year in a place called Lexington, North Carolina, where tens of thousands of people
Holy cow.
come down for a big convention. It's like a board game convention, but for barbecue. Everybody brings in their barbecue pits and everything and cook, and they have a contest and everything. You just sit there and eat all day long.
So instead of playing games, you eat all day. I'm starting to reevaluate my hobby decisions right now.
Yeah.
But, a good smoker would probably cost one of my Calex shelves worth of games. So that's fair.
There you go.
Awesome. Well, Marty, this has been a ton of fun, and I'm looking forward to playing a game with you next week. But in the meantime, where can people find you on the internet?
Well, they're looking at me right now. Oh, well, you mean aside from this right here? Yeah. So if you want to, check out our show, you can go to our website at rolldicetakenames.com or rollingdiceandtakingnames.com. I had to add that in there because my co-host couldn't remember the other one. On Twitter at Dyson Names, Instagram Dyson Names. We have a BGG Guild number 1589. If you want to check out our show, you can do so on iTunes. We also have a YouTube channel, Roll Dice Take Names, where I post the episode every 2 weeks, because then I can add in timestamps so you can just jump right to the segment you want to listen to. So we're kind of all over the place if anybody wants to check us out. And after hearing all this mess that I just went through, people are like, I'll pass. I'm just going to move on and hit the stop button at this point.
No, they wouldn't. I highly recommend it, guys. Oh, and I did want to get around to commenting. I love the artwork you guys had done by Fernanda Suarez for your new logo and everything. Just fabulous.
So we thought it might be time to update our logo. The squirrel thing became something that's been with us for years, and we thought it'd be kind of have a more whimsical logo. The first person we reached out to was Fernanda Suarez, who does art for Ashes the Card Game from Plaid Hat Games. She also did art for Dead of Winter. Yeah. Just an amazing, amazing artist. And she gracefully said yes and she came up with our amazing squirrel logo, and we're just absolutely in love with it. So we're big thanks to her to have a big name artist do our logo for us meant a lot to us.
Absolutely. And I'm going to plug her too real quick down below, because she actually runs a shop. I don't know if it's an Etsy shop or it's a place where she sells her artwork, and she has this Disney Princess Reimagined series that she did that's amazing. And I highly recommend you check it out. Not safe for work, all of it, because she does some female work, but check it out at your leisure and enjoy it, because she's absolutely fabulous.
She loves drawing a lot of female characters in various states of dress. I mean, it's very artsy, very tasteful, but yeah.
Exactly.
Just don't make sure kids aren't around.
Yeah, and I just didn't want you to be surprised, but so there you go. So, well, thank you for being on tonight, Marty. This has been a lot of fun.
Well, thank you. I'm glad I finally got to get on. When Chaz got on so long ago, I was jealous. It's like, when do I get to go sit in the couch or sit in the virtual couch? So I was excited to get asked to come on. I have had a wonderful time, and you and I will sit down and have some chicken and waffles together sometime.
I think we can tour that whole menu. I think we can make a day of it. I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, we can. And I'll introduce you to liver mush, too, if you want.
All right. It's a deal.
Okay.
Maybe. Maybe.
No.
So thanks again. Thank you, Dan, for pouring some drinks and providing some scintillating conversation. And thank
What'd you say?
Scintillating.
Oh, scintillating. I'm sorry.
Man.
Thought it was that whole BBQ thing.
Jeez. Can't catch a break with this guy. He's like the censor sitting in the other room with the button.
It's like Dan's going, oh my gosh, shut up, get him off the air.
He's usually so good at the outro. So be sure to look at some tasteful nudes the next time you game all night.
Thanks for watching this week's episode. Join us next week when we play a game with the guest. If you enjoy our content, please consider supporting us on Patreon. Be sure to follow us on all forms of social media. Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook are the best ways possible. Simply find us by searching for Game All Night Show. And of course, check out our website at gameallnightshow.com. This Week and Each Week is made possible through the generous support of donors like these. Be sure to subscribe below and check out our latest videos.
Nice.
I'm being set up. Something is happening.
Something is happening.
I'm not clear.
Doo-doo-doo.
You changing the crop on your...
Can't see. What's he doing?
Mysteries are afoot.
There's something afoot.
This is what it feels like to be Tony. I get it now.
There's something afoot at the... Is it the 7-Eleven?
Sometimes they're 2 feet.
Circle K.
Circle K. And you know what? I'm so sorry. I have just ruined 80s pop culture.